actually working? I can't tell. It's probably pretty delayed. Yeah, it's really delayed. It seems I have no idea how streaming works anymore. So I guess this is live. Let me see if anything happens if I type into here. Here we are. Not seeing anything happening on this side. Oh, I hear it myself now. There's like about a minute delay. Pretty long. Fix this. Pop this out. I'm just popping things out. It's like a monitor chat. Yeah, this is a very long delay. So I think I'll disable the sound on my monitoring video and hope for the best. So hey, this is Sri. It's been a long time since I streamed anything. So today's task is to get my head back into shape for doing some programming. And I don't really feel like doing this programming, but it's something I need to finish up. And it would be nice to have a conversation partner to talk things through. It's been about 5 weeks since I've looked at any kind of code, so I'm kind of out of it right now, and I'm hoping that this conversation will help. Even though there's no one watching, maybe talking it out aloud will give me an idea. On top of that, I will be able to refamiliarize myself with streaming in general. It's been like maybe 2 or 3 years since I've done it, probably more than that. And while my OBS setup is kind of working, I'm not sure really if it is. I have all these buttons here, so I have I can switch between screens. I have this chat thing that has my live notes in. And ooh, that's scary. So that's generally what's going on. I have my controls here. I have my various slate controllers. But I also changed my monitor recently, so a lot of this stuff is not kind of working. So one change I've made since I was streaming was that I now use an LG dual up monitor, which is this weird square-shaped thing. So if you actually look at this screen, or maybe not that one, but I thought I had a screen though, so maybe it's this one. No, where'd it go? I have a special one set up for this. So this, no, I should have one that's just everything. It should be screen F. Maybe it is this one. It just looks weird to me. So this is on the left side here. This is one giant screen. So it's basically like two 1440p monitors stacked on top of each other in this vertical format. The cool thing about that is I can actually make this thing go full screen. Like so. Oops, like so. So now I have a giant workspace. So it's 14. It's 2560 by 2880 now, or I can push it up to the top like that. And then also I can if I want to focus on a particular top or bottom, I have my OBS set up so I can do that. All right, so what am I really doing today? I need to do some work. I'm going to make a timestamp first, writing it down. The time currently is 12:15. 12:15 p.m. here in New Hampshire. And my first order of business is to, let me go over here, use my live mode setup. Let's see. Where is that? It's over here. So what am I doing? I am reviewing NetCreate. NetCreate is the software I'm working on for a research grant that we're closing out. So NetCreate template saving, which is where I was last time, and then seeing what else there is to do for prop editor. So let me just review that really quickly. So over here, I wonder if I have a better screen for this. I really want screen plus me, I guess. Yeah, I think that works. So, is this gonna work? Actually, do need a another window here. Let's see. Let me pull up another browser window, and I'll put it down here so you can see it. And I'll try to anyway. Let's put this down here, and I'll kind of cover up this because I don't think that's as necessary. And so this is going to be on screen B. And everything stopped working. Oh, did I freeze? Oh no, or is it just? Oh, it's delayed because I'm looking at the stupid live screen. So yeah, so this is the bottom, and what I want to do up here is I want to run the div, kick this thing up. So right now I'm compiling this code. This is a legacy project from 2018, and there are a lot of legacy things in it that are kind of a jumble. A big challenge with this project was to de-jumble it. So I was figuring out how to write a modular system, but the jumbling was almost too much to handle. Plus, we were trying to do another integration with another software vendor at the same time who's ducked out. So now I can pull back a lot of the changes that I was making, which simplifies what I need to do now, but it's kind of a half step back overall. So now I think this is running now. I think down here, and I'll see if this still works. It should say that the compilation is complete, app server is online. So let's go down here and go to localhost 3000, I think it is. Oh, here's not great. Okay, I'll go to screen B. And here in screen B, we've got, I have this test template thing popping up for me because that's what I'm working on right now. And this is the property editor I've been replacing. This is the replacement property editor using just really, really plain HTML. This, unfortunately, is a React project. So, but I'm trying to, we're in the process of stripping that stuff out because, personally, I've never liked React. And there are fundamentals of React that I like. I like the idea of this responsive DOM thing. I like the idea of JSX in principle. But I find that it's not well matched to the kind of development that I do, which is more one or two people. We have direct control of the screen because we're doing real-time graphic type stuff. And React is, I think, more suitable for a certain kind of data-driven application that has a large team that has to work together to coordinate a bunch of user interface files and designs separate from the back end. And there is support to manage that. If you're on a two-man team, you do not have the support to deal with React's BS, particularly because a lot of React solutions that are online tend to assume that it's the container that you use for everything when it really shouldn't be. I prefer a thinner front end, something that where all the logic is in a module of some kind, and then React is just dumbly rendering things. And there's nothing in React that says that you shouldn't architect that way, but so many of the components and so many of the online materials assume that you want to use React to drive your front-end application. And that's not what we're doing. In a way, we're doing a little bit more of a throwback to single-page applications rather than the current hotness of server-side generated, React state hydration stuff. That's way too complicated. I want a more direct model because it's easier to play with. It appeals to my sensibilities, let's say. Anyway, So some of this stuff works. I mean, I have some rudimentary feedback type stuff. That's to test that this works. I mean, these are supposed to actually that's supposed to let up. I don't see that it is. That suggests to me that I still haven't fixed this. So let me add a note to that, or it might be because I'm not logged in. Let me see if I can log in. So this stuff down here. You can go to the console. Let's see, make tokens. So what are these new shared tokens? This is kind of a hack, a developer hack that's in here. We generate a token group. So you go PK9. PK9. We can relog in. I don't think this is going to change anything, but that's supposed to light up. So I guess I never finished doing that. So let me add that to the things I was supposed to be doing. Let's see. So here's my notes pad here on screen A. Let's see. So one of the things I need to do is fix the save button on prop editor view, and that should update. So you can go back to here. Actually, this screen is probably one. I should go to a screen. There should be a variant of this that is screen B. So I haven't set that up yet. Screen A, then this will be screen B. And we'll make do with this. So review template saving, and then see what else I need to do for prop editor. So currently, if I remember this right, I go back to screen B. I have this whimsical diagram that I have made some architectural notes about the current functionality for this. And what was I doing with this before? I don't quite remember. I guess I need to force myself to read this. So there are these server endpoints. This is like the initialization sequence. This is what's supposed to happen during the dataset operations. I think I had another one. This is the prop editor. So what do I have going on here? What is this? The web client is in the mir directory. It loads all this stuff. This is the React settings bridge. And there's an general pattern, I think. I think I'll define the patterns here. Yeah, this is a relatively recent file that I was working on. So the idea was to generalize this approach to things. And what do I mean by things? So the property editor that we were looking at before, that just creates a JavaScript object with a bunch of named properties in a group, which is also a property. It's an object of objects. And so the object of objects, I need to be able to persist that to disk and change it. And I need to coordinate the server side, which has the actual persistent mechanism, with the client side. Now, I have written code like this before, but I think that could be turned into a singular module that I can then reuse very easily instead of rerunning it every time. So I've spent a lot of time just working out the standards, the data format standards, and the data operations for this. I could have sworn there was another document that I wrote for this. So I'm checking out here, feature system revisions. I don't really see anything. I knew I wrote this out someplace. Maybe this is the document. Or maybe I never got around to generalizing it because I did this while I was in Taiwan. So maybe I won't worry about it right now. Let's just go back to this. And I guess I'll just start tracking shit down. Let's see. So the first thing to track down would be, let me make the screen a little bigger. My eyes could probably benefit from that also. Let's see. Kind of blanking out now what to do next. Take a sip. Actually, let me load up Fork and see where I was last. Oh, what is this crap? Install updates. Wait. It's been a while since I've been back at the computer. Install. All right. So here's Fork. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like I can't zoom this, so it's hard to see. I am just seeing what local changes I had made recently. What's that? He's got a message from what? Yeah, it looks like my deck umbrella is coming in on the 30th, on Friday. So they can work outside. That would be great. Let's see. Looks like some refactoring. Okay, this stuff is nothing really has been changed here. Just some light refactoring in MERS Settings Manager. Well, okay. Now this is where I need to switch to some sort of paper. Or I should write it here. So here's the prop editor. What I want to do is I want to make a list of the specific files, and mostly these are already here. So let me just type. So we have MER settings context TS. We have MER settings client TS. And that's on that's the TypeScript web client. And then over here, I'm gonna skip Ursus min. We have the React settings bridge JS, because this is actually this is in the legacy code, and we don't support TypeScript in that. I'm transpiling this TypeScript stuff into a library that can be imported by this project. And then we have MER settings editor, which is a function. Let's make that. We have MER settings editor, which is a functional component, I think. Let's check up here and see if it is. MER settings. It's a component. Maybe it's. Yeah, I mean, this is a React component, but a functional one. Yep. MER settings editor, and then we have a number of subcomponents. MER property group. And then we have, is that the only one? Property group, and then we have MER text input, which is our base. Oops. Okay, let me type here. MER text input, which is another subcomponent. Okay, so this is all down here, very small and stupid looking. So let's switch over to here. And let's see. God damn it. Let's see. Let's expand that. Let's expand that. Let's expand that. These are components. MER settings editor is the actual container of a number of property groups, each of which contain these text inputs. So these are things. And then React settings bridge is, I believe, the way to describe this is, I think it bridges between these modules. So settings context, settings client. The idea is that these are connected. Settings context in particular, let's reverse order. Okay, so this is starting to come back. So I also have this merge settings context thing. Let's bold that. Let's not bold it. Let's just make this one bigger. So there's two different things. Settings context is actually storing React context, which is one of the dumbest things I've seen. Settings context is their way of distributing shared state with components, so you don't have to do prop drilling, which is like you have to pass. If you have a nested component, like for example, this text input thing, which is underneath merge settings editor, which is underneath a whole lot of other junk, for this to receive status, it cannot actually, for this to receive parent-specific data, it has to be passed down from the very top all the way down. So things like styles or like global constants and things like that. If you want them to be reactive, you have to do prop drilling because of the way that React works. Or you use React context, which is this kind of janky workaround to implementing state, which React was never designed with to begin with. But it's all horribly indirect. It doesn't work with my thinking style. So, but in this case, I actually have to work with it. So merge settings context. Let's review that again. Merge settings context uses something called React context. Create context is part of React, which is up here. So this settings context, it creates a context with an object in it. And this object actually doesn't do anything. This object is the default object when the settings context is not initialized. So you don't actually put anything in there, which is like one of the weird things about the model. And let's see. I've created a React hook here called use settings. And all what this use settings hook does, what does this do? It returns an object that is basically the API for accessing stuff that's whatever is in this context. And what it does is it uses, I believe it uses, use state. So less settings update, upstate settings. All this does is really this is like a dirty flag. So when this changes, when last settings update changes, this can be used as a parameter for the context provider, which is where? That is part of, who exports the provider? I would think it would be in here. This is a settings context should be exported. Get settings context is probably used by merge settings editor, which is right here, which loads on module init time. And settings context, okay, this is a specific element of using React context. If you have a React context object, it exposes a property called provider. Provider is actually a component called provider, which has these very, very specific props. Value has to be the thing you're passing. API is something that I'm retrieving from my, I should be retrieving it from my, okay, I'm retrieving it from the React settings bridge, which is the indirect way I need to bridge with my TypeScript code. You can see how stupid this is getting. So yeah, here, property defs. long story short is when mod changes, because API probably isn't going to change, because since API is an object, React doesn't, and the object itself isn't changing. I think we're only fetching it once. Let's see, merge settings editor is not creating API. Well, it is. When merge settings editor mounts as a React component, it pulls API through my use settings hook. It creates old state and save old state, and it creates a few functions. This is the top level buttons that we were seeing before in our UI example. This thing down here, save settings, revert settings, these two things. Let me double check to see if the stream is still functioning. Looks like it's still going. Nice. Let's see. Okay. So mod is the last thing's update. This is my dirty flag. Mod is it's been modified. When this changes, it should force a re-render of all this stuff down here. And you can see that the dirtiness will happen as mod changes. Wait, why is mod? Okay, it only changed. This might be a bug. I'd expect it to. I'll debug that later. Anyway, so the property editor just iterates over all the keys of the propdef object, and the propdef object is from these property things. And it creates a bunch of property groups, which corresponds to that. Oops. Which corresponds to this property group. Property group. I should hook up a foot pedal so I can just quickly press and switch back and forth between things instead of using my fingers. Anyway, I'm already getting lost. I can only handle really one, at most 2 levels of indirection before I need to write shit down. Just reviewing this state, this change thing, and trying to explain it at the same time to clarify it in my head. So this value thing that's required for provider, modified is something that I've added. Since this never changes, that's why I need to use this to trigger a redraw. If the parent redraws, and this is the parent of everything, then this forces everything else to redraw. And I'm not doing any prop drilling because I'm expecting when these get when the render function is called, that it will be able to pull from the context itself what has changed. And so in this case, let's take a look at property group. We're a property group. And let's look at the functional component definition here. So property group consists of 3 different triggering mechanisms. I believe property group is only called once when it sets all this stuff up here. And so what this is doing is it's pulling its props. I guess if the prop changes, this does get rerun. Yeah, that would make sense. It's essentially creating a bunch of data things so it can re-render things. And here's the render function itself that's executed at a later time. Whenever when state changes, basically, or when the use effect happens. So if there's something in here that is using an effect hook, this adds it to an internal React render queue that re-renders on certain conditions, but it doesn't always rerun the top part. The top part runs only, I think, when props changes. When props change, but if you're doing like reactive stuff with state or hooks, then this reruns, because this is retained as a separate execution queue, different triggering mechanisms. And this is something I think that throws like React developers who are learning by pattern rather than concept how this works. So essentially what this does is it renders This is a property group is a single thing of multiple properties, which is this prop list map thing, which is in rendering text inputs. What should ideally be doing is handling multiple kinds of text and multiple kinds of inputs other than text input. But I'm testing some text input on text first, then I'll add color selectors and numerical sliders and stuff like that. So properties, metadef. So these are some of the things, ideas that I want to define also, which are in this document here, up here, this part. Prop def, this is where I'm defining. This is comma doing here. This is defining all the various bits of things. If I recall, there was an issue. These red things are stuff that I need to do. Okay, so let me actually change this. So fix the red items. Red items on whimsical. SNA prop editor. That covers the issue with the save button not working. Let me see what's broken right now. I forget why I put these warning things here. Update property, context API. Save button doesn't work. These text inputs, I think I was refactoring those. Each individual prop def into settings and dictionaries values. So okay, these are things I need to finish, I think. What does this mean? Let me look at the first one. Okay, back over here. The first one says, each individual input-output component receives the component. Why does everything move? Receives the prop definition dot prop. Is it dot prop? Convert into settings manager dictionary values. This is so tedious. So I think maybe I was wondering whether or not I should use this dot prop as the main way of conveying things, because there's two data formats. There's group def, there's definition, group name, prop name, which is what's going on here. It should be there. That should be there. Okay, why is this like collapsing the spaces like something stupid? Did I break this again? It's because or is it because I used shifts? Oops. That's what I wanted. So that should be like that. That should be like that. Yeah, that's better. Yes, okay. That's what the issue was. So I can see this clearly. So I have, nested property names, but here I have something that's combining this as a string that I can then decode later by splitting on the period between these. And I'm not sure which one makes more sense. Because when it comes to writing it, this is the way that I'm sending data back and forth as a payload. I have routines, I handle both of them, but it doesn't feel really clean. Maybe I shouldn't worry about it right now. But I think I'm going to make some coffee. I'm starting to feel a little bit tired. But before I do that, let me figure out What makes most sense to make some progress? I think there's also the other parts of oops, the other parts of it are the actual operations that are written back. So let me just remind myself how the operations work. We know that in MERS settings context, there is a hook that returns an API object, which is this. So we have get, update property, and update group. That's the essential API. Let me write this down on this piece of paper before I forget. Where did my pencil go? Where did my pen go? It's over here. Why did I lose? Okay. I don't know if everything went blank for everybody. That's weird. What is this doing? Oh, okay. I guess that's just the way it renders. The API is where is it? Get, and this is the settings. What is this returning? This is the settings hook. Get, update property. Okay, I think this is a good place to look. And then update group. I'm guessing. Yep, update group. And let's take a look at what these actually look like. All right, so where is get defined? It's calling get.prop, which is part of MERS settings client. Oops. Mess this up. So MERS settings client gets subkey. Finding like note taking really tedious right now because I'm juggling so many different screens. So let's see. MERS settings. Where's the typing going? MERS settings client. We have get. Might as well just go there. MERS settings client. How is this a client? Yes. Why is this a? This looks like a circular. How's this even working? This looks like a circular import. Unless like the tree shaking makes it work somehow, but I don't like it. Is this used anywhere? Okay. Oh, is it just exported? These settings is okay. These are just exports. Let me just double check that. Oops. Ah, I fucked that up. I hate this command H thing. Who uses that? Yeah, selling place. So these are just export only. These are just for exporting. Although I'm not sure why I don't just do. There's probably some reason. That makes more sense. Anyway, we're looking to see what we have. There's some boilerplate code, but we have get subkey. So it's assuming subkey of what? This is get property. We're saying, okay, this is getting the entire settings object. So this is like get, this is the group key, I think. That's better. Okay, so I'll do it this way. Why is nothing working here? Group. Let me see this keyword. Group key. Group key. Group key. Group key. Group key. Group key. Okay, that's a little bit more sense. So I get one general thing I've been trying to do is just try to make the semantics all similar. Because inconsistent. Group key, which is an optional. What else is there? There's update property, which is dot prop value. And dot prop in this case is the group name, because we can't always know what it is. I think the issue is that the group name isn't always available to the property itself. It's like the old system I had with web components would do that because it could insert the key, but in React I couldn't access it. You have to use prop drilling for it. And so using the dot prop format was specific to it. Maybe the thing to do is to make everything use dot prop. Anyway, let's change this to group key too. Although I don't think it can actually do that because group name is actually the name of the property. Actually, I need to change this. So with this, okay, I think that makes more sense. Group name dot prop. Let's change this to group name. It's optional. We add some spaces here. Update group. This will do group name, and then a prop object, which is a data object. And so the format of this is a group name, and then it iterates through these things. So ultimately, these all end up in these calls. So the update things do work like that. And then this emitter thing should be invoked every time there is a change, which happens when we receive a change from the server. And so the other thing I need to write down is the CLI PS data, which is a message. And is there another one? I just saw it. Load assets. Then there is SCRV PS op. These are messages. This one's implemented by clients. This one is implemented by the server. PS data, net call, any other net calls. Yes, that's all PS op. That makes sense. Load assets, update property. So this is the API for talking to the server. Then CLI PSI data is what receives. This receives data updates from server. this is the authenticated data operations. From client, which never upstate, never. I don't think this ever returns values. There's something called CRL or something like that, or there's a separation of concerns when you have a data operation. You don't want it to do more than one thing. So, for example, would be like if you had a asynchronous data write to the server, you don't want to receive the change data back in the same call, because that messes things up. So instead, there's a separate push call that happens on the server that has the actual update. And this works much better across other reactive user interfaces as well. Because if you have it localized to the thing that's making the call, there's no way to distribute that back to everyone else unless you bounce the call back. Oh, you do it twice, which isn't like a great idea. It complicates the model a bit in my head, but that's kind of why I want to like turn this entirely into like a nice reusable module, so I can just name it and just forget about it. Let's see. Okay, the car I was thinking about looking at. Carvana is available. Let's see how bad it is. Mm-hmm. Inventories I can make. Let's my headphones just get disconnected. All right. Get group name, get so I think I'm kind of starting to get a feel for where I am right now. Let me just think aloud. What am I thinking? I have no idea. I probably need to go take a walk just to like get the blood flowing. It's a beautiful day outside. Our very short, nice season in New Hampshire is starting. Hopefully, so from June, July, August, September, October, those 5 months, that's our nice weather. Then it gets cold again and starts to snow and it's miserable. The most miserable times of the year are probably late November through April. It feels like it's like 7 months of misery. That's what it feels like. It maybe isn't that bad, but if you have stuff going on and you have a fireplace, then it's better. So I think I kind of have an idea of what I want to do. So let me just update this. Kind of warmed up again on the computer stuff, and being able to talk it through was really helpful. Let me see. I'm going to switch back up here, and I should set up a foot pedal. That would be kind of cool. So I can switch back and forth between screen A and screen B. Anyway, so I want to outline the what was it called? CLI PS data and serve PS op. And I need to find a trigger point. Trigger saves. Also, I need to trigger loads. This is completely missing. Load values. That's what's missing. Trigger save values, and then reload values. through load assets. So, okay, I think the thing that gives me an idea of what I'm doing, what I want to do is go into my Discord. And what I'm doing here is, I don't think Discord will understand this format. Let's see what happens though. Yeah, it doesn't get it. Let's convert it. This is my checklist. Sorry if it was too small to read, but basically what I'm typing is, I have a devlog in my Discord server. So this is under the D3 strategic disco. And then there's the development log thing, and I write in here also for, so I feel like I'm talking to somebody. So now that this is in one place, I can use this as a reference while sharing it to other people who might be interested in the server. If you're not in the server and you want to try to find a community of people who are pretty chill and supportive, and there's not a lot of us, but we're here. We've been here for a long time. It's sometimes nice to come back to and just shoot the breeze about what you're working on. But that's what that's about. And I think I'm going to end the stream right now because now that I've worked all this stuff out, I really need to just kind of hunker down and be hyper focused. I don't think I can talk at the same time as I'm doing that and get some of these other work done. It is very tempting to work on fixing this other stuff. Let's see. But I'm not going to worry about it. Other stuff, meaning, the OBS setup. But I guess I'll make a note of that so I don't forget. Making a note of it will make me feel that I'm not totally like forgetting about it. It'll feel like some progress. OBS chores. That would be to add foot pedal support for screen A, B somehow, and then I think chat screen needs the same thing. As C screen B support. I'm switching back between those things. I wonder if we should make this a toggle. That might be a way to do it. So I can make the scenes and make my current button up into a toggle. That would probably be the easiest thing to do for both those buttons. We don't have room for all of them. Yeah. Convert to toggle buttons. And I think that's enough for me to remember. All right. That's the stream. It's short. I don't even know if it worked. I guess I'll find out later. So if anyone is watching this, thanks for checking it out. Otherwise, have a good day, and maybe I'll do it again soon. Bye.